Three very good reasons to follow me for this review here of the Skoda Superb Sportline. First reason is you requested Skoda Superb new generation in the Sportline version. Here it is now for you. Second reason is, could this be a budget Mercedes E-Class or a budget BMW 5 Series, lower in the price, but same size on the outside, but even more space on the inside? We're going to find out. And the third reason is, since we are also looking out for a personal car, could this also be one for us? Yeah, we're going to find out all about that with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Superb Sportline with the dark sporty look here with the grille in the front. The matrix LED, otherwise optional, are already standard here with the Sportline. And if you hit the turning indicators or the hazard light, it looks already pretty cool in the front. Then also more black contrast all around the vehicle. Also here at the window frames and so on. Sportline badge is here at the side. And the length is, as normal with all the Superbs in this new generation, 4.91 meters or 193 inches. It is built together, actually in Slovakia, with the Passat, but it's more like in this generation Skoda is building the Superb and also the Passat. So this time it's the way around, that the Passat is more like the Superb and not that the Superb is like the Passat, you know what I mean? These 19-inch wheels are directly standard in the Sportline and also standard DCC Plus. It's the dynamic chassis control, and Plus means it's now a 2-valve system, so wider span between sportiness and comfort. And it's also standard here for the Sportline. So yes, you start higher in the entry price for a Sportline, but then it directly includes a lot of the things. This one is here the fastback styling, looks outside like a sedan, but it has this fastback opening. Soon going to show that to you. But of course, is also the Combi, the estate version, available for the Superb. In the rear, a modern look, also here with this segmentation of the tail light signature, and the indicators are then cascading if you have these matrix LED. 4x4 version here for you here today, so we have a higher trim level engine, soon more to all of the engines. And you can see here we have this dark spoiler lip here that looks also pretty cool. It is a front wheel based platform, so if you have an all-wheel drive model, it is front plus rear on demand. The more you hit the throttle actually. Key fob, high gloss black, nothing special. Then the door closing sounds. No, sounds good. Solid, I'd say. Then you can have the typical Skoda umbrella case here, or snow brush would also fit there. And yeah, that's why this hole is also available for the Passat then, because the Skoda is like the prio #1. And then here, it's a little bit softer for your elbow and leatherette. This here is also somewhat softened up and also structured on top part, and fabric at the inside of the doors. The 5 Series does not have that, so this is where the Superb is actually better than the 5 Series in this respect. Oh, and the small trash bin right there. Superb entry badge. Also, only an M5 has that, the rest of the 5 Series doesn't. And then we have the perforated steering wheel, Skoda lettering now, you know the trend that they remove the logos and just put the letterings. A lot of stalk columns behind it here, for example, also for the cruise control. And a nice leatherette covering here and stitching. And here this is an animal skin with leatherette mix, depending on which part. If you want to go an animal free seat, and I would also recommend to go for the microfiber seat. There's a standard microfiber seat for the Superb, but it's also the standard for the Sportline. So this is only an option. And here is also a little bit less comfortable than the microfiber surface, because that's a little bit softer. Here, in any case, you can make this one a little bit longer in the lower part, and also memory seating. So 1, 2, 3 different drivers, and manual up, down, in and out for the steering wheel. When you sit in the front here, it's a little bit close with the right knee though, if you have long legs with the middle console and so on. And very interesting here, so a base Superb does not have that. But as soon as you go mid-trim, so selection trim for example in Germany, then you actually get standard. So it's not an additional package. So not the base version, but mid-trim, and then also here the Sportline is also standard. And here the dual glazing for the windows. And that's pretty cool to reduce the noise level, especially on the motorway. And that is for the front and for the rear. Oh, there we go. Oh. Yeah, it's the shade from the inside, so you can see it as well. And this is now for the Superb. The Passat also gets it, the Tiguan even, and the Tyrrell. And the special thing is really that it's both for the side front and for the side rear windows. Welcome to the cockpit here. The 13-inch screen, otherwise an option, is standard here for the Sportline, also for the other higher trim levels. Then here we have this interesting front grille look in the dashboard. Here a little bit softened up, then here with some leatherette.
It's really a grille.
Yeah, it's really a grille, indeed, yeah. And once again, the standard Sportline would have more microfiber. And I would also recommend that for the looks and also for the comfort of the seat, as I said, and also then animal-free seating at least, not the steering wheel. And if you have that microfiber seat, then you also have more microfiber inserts here and there. Then this swinging line, and you still have real climate knobs. Like here, this cool thing. This could be maybe a little bit fixer attached, so to speak, but here it has also like a clicking sound. And then you also have it in a multi-sense way, because when you click it once, then you hop to the heated seats or the cooled seats. And that's a cool idea actually. And in the middle part, you either have a drive mode selector to pick the driving modes, so you don't have to select them in the infotainment. Click it further, then you have the fan speed, or click it one more time. There we go, and then you have the volume control. So this is a good idea to keep the physical dials here in the vehicle, and the Passat does not have that actually. Then the glove box here also somewhat dampened. Then here the sides are, let's say, they feel soft, but they're not really soft for your knees or something. Then you can slide these open, 2 USB-C chargers. Then here the inductive charging pad is also ventilated. And then cup holders here, and you have these Lego knobs here that you can also open a PET bottle with one hand. And nice split opening here also. It could be maybe a little bit softer. Split opening here, and then you have some clutter organization inside as well. And the headroom here in the front, yeah, with 189, 602, no problem at all. Driver POV, yeah, all the way letterings and hardly any logos anymore indeed. And then here, this is for the volume and for the heated steering wheel. Right side then to control something of the digital instruments. And here also click here once, and then you can deactivate this speed warner, like bim bim bim, when you have 1 km/h too much. This is an easy solution to change that. Other than that, here the digital instruments, you can also change different views and stuff, also a map view, so whatever you prefer. And then we also have a head-up display that you can hardly see on camera here at this moment. And the main infotainment also offers Apple CarPlay integration, Android Auto like this. Other than that, here these top hotkeys are interesting. For example, here to all the assistance systems, and you can also easily deactivate them right here. So this is possible, or the drive mode selection. But as I said, this also works here from below, like here. And you can also change them through like this. And also interesting with the DCC, the adaptive suspension, you can also set your individual mode, like all the way comfort suspension, but a sporty steering. Rear seats, first of all, here structured, hard but structured. Then you have these manual shades here, but also pretty cool. Then the leatherette insert, and also fabric at the inside of the rear doors. That's good to see, definitely. Then here, for example, you have another blanket holder. Yeah, don't need to have it, but can. Then Isofix outside, and then here you can push them in. So also a practical solution. There we go. Then here these cup holders are, yeah, somewhat adapted, but kind of shallow. This is like a smartphone holder, for example. And ski hatch is also available. And middle console, you have a climate unit with seat heating here when the ignition is on, 2 USB-C chargers, middle tunnel, and I mean, look at that. Just ample of knee room, and this is for tall drivers here in the front, 189, 6'2". This is amazing, and this is of course way more than you would have like in the E-Class on the 5 Series. This is where this has the advantage, and here also headroom, no problem at all. The only thing that the sedan or the fastback is not offering, there is no panoramic roof available. However, I don't think it's the biggest problem, because a closed roof is always better, especially in summertime. And it's also better to stay quiet on the motorway when you drive a little bit quicker. So my local mechanic always tells me, Thomas, either closed roof or convertible. And then here, the sleeping horns. This is like a special package, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, it looks also amazing. And Leah, of course, as well. I always have the best perspective. So here we go. And then when you fall asleep, especially also the kids and so on, then you don't wake up with neck pain because your head is being held upright. This is a very cool idea, actually. There we go. So with the blanket and then with the sleeping horns, and then, yeah, the next journey for the next 5 hours. In the next 50 minutes, we will spend folding this blanket properly again to make it fit
Same
in
thing
the
with the
blanket holder.
umbrella.
Yeah, same thing with the umbrella, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe outside.
Yeah, maybe we do it together outside, right? Trunk or boot at 645 liters here for the sedan or for the fastback, a little bit more for the combi, which is then a little bit higher just here. But this one, look at that, already so well usable. It's incredible. The trolley here almost looks lost, and here there's like 1 meter or 40 inches in width, and it goes, there's no limitation, you know, like this goes all the way through. And then the normal length here is about 48 inches or 1 meter 20, a little bit more. It's actually pretty cool. Now you can do so many things here. So here, for example, there's vast space, and then here you have these splitters here, and more splitters are hidden, for example, here. These are these splitters you can just put here, for example, and then that something's not flying around or so. This is all possible and also very well hidden here. Live on tape, I think. Yeah. And then here we have some hangers. There we go. So like for bags and so on. Here we can soon flip the seats, but first of all, underneath, here's even a replacement tire. That's also pretty cool. And then there's this one here. You can pull, for example, for putting jackets or an umbrella or some wet stuff on there, like, I don't know. And you can also take the whole thing out. Yeah, and that also led me for stage 2 of taking this cover out here like this, and there we go. And then you can see even more of that vast space here. There we go. Wow, this is amazing, right? This is really amazing. And folding the seats 1 and 2. I can't believe it. I mean, it's like you can
sleep there.
Yeah, you can even sleep there. And here, see here, this is like 80 centimeters or 32 inches in height, and the overall length then to the seats as we are driving. Still amazing of how much space this one is offering. So there we go. It is like almost a full 2 meters or 79 inches. So this is the king of this segment in this respect. And if you then add some combi state measure, that's of course even a little bit more, but I mean, can't get any better than this. You can even put this one here and can hang it in. If we install that back again, and then it should actually also move together with opening and closing the trunk right there. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. As for engines, today the 2-liter TDI, 190 horsepower and all-wheel drive version. There are also different ones available, 1.5 TSI, the petrol side, 2-liter TSI. That one would be the strongest one in the strongest horsepower spec. And also a plug-in hybrid version with the 1.5 PHEV. And you can check out the engine list, like with all the horsepower figures, in the data and facts comment, and also in the video description if you want to know more. This one here at 7.5 seconds in the acceleration. Sport mode. So there was some acceleration from like 40 something to 120 kilometers an hour with the 2-liter TDI here. 190 horsepower, all-wheel drive as well, so it's the strong diesel. If you want even stronger acceleration performance, then you would need to go with the stronger petrol engine actually. And here at about 130 kilometers an hour, so about like 75 miles per hour. As for the noise insulation, I would have expected it a little bit better, honestly, because I'm really positive on the dual glazed windows. And if you have these options both front and rear, and so you also feel that it's relatively silent from the sides, and this is often a very important thing. But it's not that silent like from the front and, you know, like from the whole rest of the cabin and so on. So it's not bad, but considering it has dual glazed windows, or dual glazing at the windows, I thought it would be a little bit better, honestly. Then here, as shifting mode at the moment, when I'm in the sport mode, you've maybe also seen that I can either control it here in the infotainment system, or I can also, as shown in the interior, control it here in the lower part with this turning knob, and that's actually a quite good thing to do. In the S mode, sport mode, here the gears are shifted up later, shifted down earlier, and also the suspension is changing, this DCC Plus, as Skoda is calling it, with the 2-valve technology. So it's a wider span between comfort and sportiness, and it's doing a good job. Even in the sport mode, it's still comfortable enough, but in the normal mode, it's also sporty enough. And my favorite mode, as usual, the individual mode, which sets the suspension on best comfort, but the steering to a little bit more feedback, you know, because otherwise it feels kind of light. It's not too bad. So here see also the small commands transported to the road. I just felt that in the normal mode it's a little bit too light. So individual I think is really good for me, setting the steering to more feedback, but then again the suspension all the way to best comfort, and it's doing a good job indeed. 19-inch wheels we have mounted here as standard on the Sportline. Of course the smaller wheels would give you more comfort, but when you have this DCC Plus, then the 19-inch wheels are actually also fine. Let's do a lane change here at 100 km an hour, see how that performs. Yeah, good job, really stable on the road. Good behavior from that vehicle here. Really like that. So it doesn't shake up too much. Even if you have set the DCC Plus to the most comfortable setting, no major shaking up or something like that. When you ask me for the differences, E-Class and 5 Series, so the first notable difference is here, because you have the shorter hood in the front there. It's still a quite long car. They only have the 4-cylinder engines there in the front. You do feel that you sit more forward in the vehicle and more is behind you, you know, in comparison to the rather long hood E-Class and 5 Series. We saw also what differences makes in the rear seats. So way more legroom here with the Superb. That is of course superb as for the rear legroom. But then again, in driving, it feels, let's say, you know, a little bit more front heavy already from the seating position. You know what I mean? So just from how you feel positioned in the vehicle. And that is somewhat a sportier, more balanced feeling in the E-Class and in the 5 Series, which are, as we described, in some of the same length region. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't drive sporty. Yeah, Sportline doesn't mean that's a special RS model or something like that. But still it behaves very well because of this platform here. The steering, I feel, here, like in this area, it's even in the sport setting, a little bit too light. And then it gets a little bit more feedback when you leave this area, and I don't like that. So I rather like steering that is more linear in a way, you know. That is giving you an exact, precise feedback. This is what I want to say. You know, in this S combination, I said to the Sport DCC, it's also fun to drive. Really nice. You know, it does give you driving fun. And it also doesn't drive so much heavier than if you compare it, for example, to the Octavia, like a segment below that. So you can have this driving fun. And this diesel engine at 7.5 seconds in the acceleration figure is enough for most cases, definitely. Here also good behavior in this corner. Seats also giving me side support when I'm pushing it a little bit. And here when I'm in the S shifting mode already, now that was an example that I'm already a little bit more on higher RPM, that you can get out of the corner a little bit easier. Blind spot monitor is also here in that side mirror. It's a very good system, very visible indeed. So especially for these situations that they warn you additionally. I can also keep a track of the speed in the head-up display. So I don't have to look in the instruments, and I can always look straight to the horizon or to the horizon. And here now it's a little bit rough from the surface, typical area, yeah, and then feel that you have the sport setting and 19-inch wheels, but let's go back to the individual setting, then I feel that the suspension is evening it out a little bit better. So coming back to the initial claim, can it be like a budget E-Class, budget 5 Series? I mean, from the space offering, we saw that it offers way more space and flexibility, even here in that sedan or fastback body type. It's so spacious and really, really flexible for everything you want to do. That's amazing, definitely. But in driving, it is definitely good and serves most purposes. Still, somehow the 5 Series and E-Class, they do drive better, you know. They feel a little bit more balanced, a little bit sportier. It always, of course, depends on the engine version. So if you pick one, like we recently had with the plug-in hybrid with the 5 Series, it's also pretty heavy then, you know. So always have to keep that in mind and compare the respective engine versions. But especially the 5 Series is more engaging to drive. And also from the driving position inside the vehicle, that's also very notable if you are a driver who really loves driving. And suspension-wise, this one here, this DC Plus, is a good suspension for this segment, yeah. But the adaptive suspension from BMW is still ahead of that, I feel. And even more ahead of that is the E-Class when you have the air suspension. That's just such a smooth, floaty ride. And this is, of course, even ahead of the 5 Series, for example. So you still somewhat feel this price difference, especially in the driving. I mean, some details like the Superb has the felt covering at the inside of the doors, which the 5 Series doesn't have. These details, you ask yourself, wait a minute, there's the Superb even better, although it's lower in the price. But in driving, still, the E-Class and the 5 Series give you more sense of sophistication. But really thinking of this high level, it does it here very well. You know, it's very calm and satisfied, basically, or satisfying on the road. You also note that you're sitting a little bit higher, so it doesn't feel like a low sitting vehicle, you know. And for my long legs, actually, that is also better in the 5 Series or in the E-Class if you compare the individual driving situation or driving position there. So there you feel that although the length is 5 Series or E-Class, the platform here itself rather feels like the segment below, rather feels still like, okay, it's Octavia, Golf platform, and so on. And it is, you know, so they all share the very same platform, and you somehow then still feel that. We can do one more sporty thing here, getting off, because we have a nice S combination. Went to the sports DCC mode, and once again, this is fun, you know. So that platform overall is still good. I also had like golf racetrack time a lot, and here you can also feel that in that respect it still feels a little bit smaller than it actually is, you know. So in that moment here, when you push a little bit to the corners, you wait a minute, am I still driving golf? Wait a minute, this is like almost 50 centimeters longer, you know. So then you forget actually that this is a longer car. So it's basically pro and con, you know what I mean? Yeah, but overall does it very well, everything here. But definitely in driving like 5 Series and E-Class for that extra price, which is not justified in the interior maybe, and definitely not justified in the space they offer, because this one here offers way more space. There's a 525D from a previous generation of the 5 Series. Yeah, so in driving there is still a difference, but of course the question is what is more important to you, because if you need more space for the family, then this one it is here. As for the fuel economy, some 5.5 to about 6 liters on 100 kilometers, depending on more motorway and steady speed or more city traffic. So overall, good result here for the TDI. Of course, different engines are available. So it's about 40 mpg US and about 60 mpg UK. And as for the pricing, so the new Superb, for example, taking the German prices, starts 40,000 euros, then the Sportline 10,000 more, 50,000. And if you spec it all the way like this, with a powerful engine and even more options and so on, you can get it even a little bit above 60,000 euros. If you now compare a Mercedes E-Class or a BMW 5 Series, you pay some 20,000 euros more than that. With the E-Class, it can even go higher. I mean, there are E-Class for like 100,000 euros out there. So definitely you save some money. Then of course you have to compare the leasing prices. BMW does some quite good leasing offers at this moment for 3 and 5 Series. The Mercedes prices rather went up also the leasing rates and so on. So there will be an even higher gap. But is it actually a proper budget replacement for the E-Class or the 5 Series? Honestly, I would say no, because especially in driving, these premium brands deliver a more sophisticated experience. Yes, we have some details like the felt covering at the inside of the doors, which is here even better than with the 5 Series. But even if I compare the 3 Series, so I directly went from a 3 Series here to driving the Superb, the 3 Series is, I mean, because it's such a great car overall and probably even better as our recent comparison showed us, 3 Series better than the 5 Series. So when you hop from a 3 Series to a Superb, you feel how good the 3 Series is actually for a car. Because even the 3 Series will be, in most cases, a little bit more expensive than this one here, higher spec. But we did this 5 Series and E-Class comparison because we re-looked at the vehicle length. And then also the advantages shine for the Superb because there's so much space on the interior, the usage of space, exterior dimension to interior space, especially on the rear seats and of course with the trunk. And here you just have the sedan styling, but still you have like a versatility of a huge estate, and that is the cool thing about the Superb. So to me, no budget replacement of a 5 Series or even of a 3 Series because they especially drive better and feel better, especially while driving. But it is the focus of, hey, you don't want to spend too much money on premium cars, but you want a lot of space for your family or for your hobby, or if you want to carry things around. That's where the Superb is really shining overall. What do you think? Give me your feedback in the comments. And of course the question, would we actually buy one? I mean, it's a good car, and if you test it directly, singularly, I was also quite convinced at the first driving and so on. But personally, I think we would still more look in the premium segment. And that's also, not a bad thing to say, and nothing to take away from the Superb at all. But just, for my personal taste, because we don't really need the space it offers here, so that wouldn't be the crucial factor for us. But definitely, still, once again, a good performance from the Superb here overall in our review. Is it something for you? Tell me in the comments, and also check out the combi review of the Superb and the Passat.